right. So I didn't save my file from last time, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So this is a short recap here. What we were taking a look was, this is still up. What we were taking a look at was tracking footage. So we can place 2D elements, created elements in a real space here, using just footage. Let's see. Take another stab at trying to get this cleared up. Oh, still stuck. Alright, so what we did is, last time, we took a look at track camera. It was pretty simple. Press the button, analyzes the footage we have selected down here, and it gives us a 3D space. Pretty short, pretty quick. It does get longer the longer the footage is. So sometimes it'll appear to be stuck when it is just rendering. But you can see up here in the corner, it will show you the percentage of how many frames it's gone through and trying to figure out 3D space. Alright, so 10-second footage, not that bad. What we did last time was go through here. We used our bullseye to set the origin point for our elements. What we did is we went ahead with the couch. We right click once we find the right bullseye, and then we can create a text and camera. Now nothing's going to really work until we create this camera, this 3D camera down here. And then with our option, we automatically get text. We can just go through here, edit it as needed, and then use our gimbal, this XYZ tool. It pops up here, and we can shimmy it around as needed. Go to my selection tool and rotate it like so. Now on the school computers here, it looks like in order to rotate it, instead of having these useful gimbals here, if all you see is arrows, then we can go to our rotate tool, and then to rotate on the Z-axis, we click on that arrow. Oh, looks like it's not working for me. I'm stuck with the I'm stuck with the rotation things. But if you don't see these circles pop up for you on your 3D moving tool, then it's the rotation tool. You hit the arrow, the axis you want to rotate on, like the Z, X, and the Y, and that'll be how you rotate it. All right. All right, and the second one we went over. Composition, there we go. Was the more manual approach. This track camera doesn't always work. Alright, so we also did track motion here. So with track motion, we start off with 1 point. Alright, you want to find a suitable spot. Something with high contrast, something that stays in the shot for the whole time, so we can track it for the entirety of the shot. I think the last time we went with this button on the couch here. And when we're doing just one, we can leave it on positional. Excuse me, vice versa. When we're doing just positional, we can leave it as one track point, right? And then we can analyze that as needed. Well, starting from frame 1, of course. Place it back where it needs to go. All right. And once I have everything in place, I can go down here to analyze forward. And it should do its best to keep that point on that particular spot in the footage. All right, and then from there we get a series of keyframes for our track point, which is data that we can use. And what we did last time is we created text layer. Place any kind of characters in there. And to get it to track, I came back over here and select my footage layer, come back over here to the tracker panel. My source is the footage. My tracking information pops back up. I'll go to edit target. I'll select Dmpt, the text layer. Hit OK. When I'm sure it's where I want it to be, hit apply. OK to X and Y. And then positionally, it should stay in place in relation to the couch point there. Alright, and then what we kind of ended up on was going back to the tracker, tracking motion, footage. We added rotation and scale down here, which is going to give us a second point. I'm going to pick a second point that stays in the camera here. This divot in the cushion, frame 1 of course. Alright, frame 1, analyze forward. Takes a little bit longer, a little bit more information to capture. All right, and once I have those two, I can go back through, do the same thing, apply it to my text. All right, and then we have the rotation and the scale on point here. And the way we ended last class is that we want to be able to move this. However, all the keyframes are added to the text transformation layer. So if at any point we try to adjust this, like that. So you want to make it up right now, kind of like what we did with the track camera. We're just going to do it for that one frame because we only made adjustments to that one frame. Alright, so what we'll go over today is a small setup that'll help us be able to transform the text, even animate it independently as it stays in place with the couch here. That's called creating a null. Alright, and basically a null is just an empty layer that has a transformation node where we can apply all these keyframes down here. And then what we'll do is we'll parent the text to that null. And then that way we can animate the text independently and actually stay in place and do what we want it to do. So a simple procedure, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Alright, so we already have the information on here. Come down here, I'm going to create a new layer and null object. You get a red square. It's just a transformation square. None of this will show up in render. So I'm just going to go ahead and position it somewhere. Makes a little more sense. Let's say right about here. I'm going to go ahead and center up the anchor point. Right there. rename, so it's text null, null text. All right, and then we proceed to do the same thing that we did with our text. So we come back here to footage.
Sorry,
I'm sorry?
can you go back to the,
Oh yeah, so the new null layer. So right click in the empty space down here, new, and then null object. All right, and it's just a red box. Well, for me, it's red. It might be a different color. It's gonna be the same. Who?
Is it going to be the same composition?
Yeah, yeah. It should be. I put mine above the footage here.
So I'm going to get rid of the old text.
Yeah, yeah. We could get rid of the old text. That's just gonna. It's gonna be a problem because we gotta delete all those keyframes or, rearrange it, unparent it. Be easier to start over. Okay, so just two layers right now. Footage, the null. Back to the footage here. All right, and bring up my information by going to the motion source. For the footage, it shows I have two trackers. All right, put position, scale. All right, I started over on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and reanalyze the information. Get this one in place, get this one in place. Make sure I'm in frame 1. Hit analyze forward. All right. As you can imagine, did a pretty good job. Sometimes it doesn't always work out as clean. And again, these are just keyframes, so we can go in and edit each one individually. This is a little, this is shaky a little bit. All right, so I got my information. Again, same thing with our text. So make sure no text is selected for my motion target. Just hit OK. Hit apply, X and Y. All right, and then my null is in place. So it's got that same weird orientation like the text before. But it's sticking in place with the couch. All right, awesome. So next we'll come down here, we'll create our text layer. All right, add in our information. All right, and before parenting this, I'm just going to go ahead and line it up with something here. Say the bottom of this canvas piece. All right, then we can come back down here and go ahead and pigtail this. So it'll be the parent. The child to the parent. So text to the null, because we want the text to follow the null. Yep, and then if we scrub through, it's following the null. Not too bad at all. All right. Okay, so again, it's sort of a manual setup for the track camera course, we don't have our 3D gimbal because this is technically still 2D space. All right, so it's just guessing frame by frame all the rotation, scale, and positional values. And also, since we have all the information on the null, we can move this as needed. All right, cool. Any questions so far? All right, so keep in mind we'll have a quiz on this. Let's see, Wednesday next week. Before we take a look at storyboards on Monday. Okay, and then there's one other useful function underneath the tracker panel we can use for our commercials here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this information. And what we want to take a look at is first the warp stabilizer, which basically tries to steady your camera. Right? It acts as a rig or gimbal to make the movement, the dolly in, dolly out, zoom, that sort of thing, to make it more stable. So warp stabilizer is more of a press of the button type of thing, like track camera. Tries to do everything automatically. We do get some weird results. Excuse me. But we can use a couple of settings off to the side here to make it a little smoother. So with default 50 subspace warp, stabilize, crop, auto scale, etc. Get a slightly smoother motion. Not as much mumbo and jumbo. But the way it works is that it's actually adding transformations to the footage, so it moves it, either skews it forward, skews it back, scales it down as needed. Every time you hit warp, though, you're going to lose some information around the edges here. You ever noticed earlier we did have gray bars on the side, and now they disappeared because we're zoomed in a little bit. Let's see if it'll show us those edges. No, I cropped out those edges. Okay. It's not too bad. So I'm going to bump up the smoothness. 95 is crazy high. I would never suggest going as high as 70, 75. We start to get some weird artifacts, some lighting issues, some deformation issues. Weird jerks here and there. But that could help with getting an idea of if the shot is not smooth enough, whether or not it needs to be reshot. Quick shots. Yeah, they're just a little too jerky here and there. Go ahead and hit it with the warp stabilizer. Now on longer shots, we want to have a more detailed hold on them. And for that, we can use stabilized motion. Works a lot like track motion. So again, same thing. We have our track points. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and click rotation and scale here.
What about for a moving object?
I'm sorry, what for the movie?
Just for a moving object, so like it was like you want to put like a head on, like a cut out a max head on another head.
Yeah.
they keep it stable while the character's moving, the head will move with that.
With the head, kind of like on what, TikTok? Some of the dance videos where it sticks with the head. I'm not sure if you've seen those.
What is it? TikTok. Like, I guess that's the only like those old AMV video from that old TV show.
AMV.
Like if you put his head on the.
Oh, those. Yeah, yeah. So that's also tracking. That you would track the person. You seen those like behind the scenes shots where they got the guy with the points on his face, or like he's wearing a bodysuit and he has like crosses all over it. It's something like that. So if you're gonna do something like that, so you'll need to do some preparation ahead of time. So like if you know you want to cut out his head and replace it with some other head or face, you'll need like a tracking point on the face. Or like maybe a hat that has a logo that's going to stay in front of the camera the whole time.
So I don't have to be cut on the video already, or cut before the video already.
Before the video is shot, yeah. That's the easiest way to do it. Now, if you want, you can hope there's a point that stays in the shot the whole time. Say like a part of a sweater or something. Maybe he has facial hair, something like that. Maybe eyeball will work. It's not as reliable or consistent, but that could work if if you're just downloading footage from elsewhere. And again, yeah, you would do is you would track this instead of using text. You'll use that face. You mask it out, and then you can place it right on top there. Yeah, so yeah, you the edit target would be the footage with the cutout face instead of the text, apply, and then go back through, frame by frame to see if it's doing everything you want it to do. But cool, yeah, that'll be pretty neat. Oh yeah, so stabilizing the video here. All right, so the manual way of going about it, got 2 track points here, frame 1, position, rotation, and scale. Go ahead and hit analyze. Very cool, same information. Edit target. Now for this one, it's just going to be the footage itself. We'll hit OK. Hit apply, X and Y. All right, and then what it's going to try to do is keep everything as still as possible. All right, so like you can see these a lot in like police videos with some very dynamic shots, and they're trying to keep track of the suspect, that sort of thing. And what it'll do is it'll move the frame instead of the subject in focus here. So that's pretty useful too. Any questions so far? So we're aware of track camera, track motion, warp stabilizer, stabilize motion. Okay, awesome. Cool. All right, so let's see. Let's go ahead and so we're on the same page. Let's pull up a composition with the warp stabilizer, and then a composition with stabilized motion here. Come around and do a quick check, and then we'll move on to rotoscoping here. Let's see. Anything else I'm forgetting here? Guess we can do 3D text. Yeah, we can do 3D text.
Okay. When we're gonna do dimension, with scale, we analyze it. Motion there. So, you see underneath there it says transform. Scroll to this big ones. There you go. That's good. And then small example of wolf street alarms.
microscope, let's get into 3D text. So this is messing a little bit more with 3D space. This will help out with tracking motion and, well, track camera specifically, since we touched on it a little bit. All right. So let me use this other footage, this older footage here. All right, so same approach. You hit track camera. Give it a second. It should work pretty well because we have a couple of stationary parts in here, the cars and the garage setting here. It's almost there. All right, cool. So there we go. Yeah, so most of my points are in the back here. That's not too bad. Useful here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is try to find something that represent a flat surface here. Looks pretty good. Go ahead back to create text and camera. A little harder to see. I'm going to change the colors here. Let's see. Alright, don't worry about the outline right now. Let's adjust that later. Okay, so again, the same thing with the track camera. We stick some footage, some text in 3D space here. Go to my double view so I can get another rotation. Here's my camera. The text is right about here. Move it out a little bit or move it in towards the camera. Alright, turn it at an angle because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to extrude it outwards. So it's going to give it a little more dimension here. The way I do that is make sure I'm in Cinema 4D here. Go underneath here, geometry options. And it won't pop up if you don't have Cinema 4D on. Classic 3D. There's a couple of different options here. It's not too useful for us. So underneath geometry options, we have extrusion depth. Bring that out just a little bit here. All right, let's scrub through, see if it looks like it's sitting on top of the concrete here. Cool. The next, pick a darker color. Let's see what's going on here with the shading. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put in a light here. So over here to new, an empty space, and light. All right, I'm just going to call this text light. Spotlight. So we've got parallel, which is kind of it emulates sunlight. So you have light coming from a certain direction everywhere. Spotlight, it's a flashlight. A point light, it's kind of like a light bulb, where it starts at a point, emanates outward. An ambient light, which is kind of like a fill light. It just fills everything with light everywhere. Okay, I'll just start off with these default settings. Punch that in here, and then take a look at my overhead. And this new fixture here is my light. I can use my 3D gimbal here, 3D tool, to get it in position. And you can tell that my text went dark because it's waiting for light information to come through. So I bring it within range here. The text starts to show up, and I can position it just a little better. So you can try to match some of this light from the garage here. And if everything is working out well, we should have something that looks like it's sitting on the ground. So what else we need is a contact shadow here. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and let's get to this point. So text, let's extrude it outwards, and then let's place a light on there so it'll show up. What's up? It's a brand new composition. Sometimes when the composition is based on the footage. Composition. So let's delete this one. So let's go back to our project. positive resource panel. Let's delete that composition. So I don't get confused with and let's create a view from selection. So it's beach ball footage. And then the calendar. The beach ball footage. Which one is that? Alright, just right click. New comp from selection. Let's try to track it. Working?
I got you.
That's it. There it is.
How do I place the text?
The same as before, so find your working point, right click, camera and text. Size it up, and then add some extrusion in there, and then just get this sit on the concrete.
These titles are basically cards in 3D space. So in order to do so, we already decided that it should be, and I want to control it. So I think the best way to, alright, so return to the line with a nice follow. So I'm going to switch to the unified camera tool. This will help us to probably move them in a moment, but for now, just this is what I was looking for, long, tall shadow.
Oh, the dots?
Yeah.
Yeah, so correct, create camera and text. And underneath there, we can extrude the text out. Then after that, we create a light. The same way we create like a new null or a new text layer. Where's the what?
You said it was under create camera.
No, it's once you have your bullseye, you right click and create camera and text.
Yeah, that's not showing up.
Oh. You're gonna create a camera there. Just click on the footage again. Yes, let's start up the footage. Let's go up to your canvas panel. You see a second timeline in there? Means we're in we're in a second panel, so we can adjust that later. So let's go to the top, use some panels, see footage panel. Yeah. So click on that. Oh, other stuff too. The composition. Alright, and then let's click on 3D camera tracker and the effects panel off to the left. Okay. Well, let's delete that. Let's delete it. Delete that. Let's go down to that 3D tracker camera. Layers. Let's delete that. Let's go ahead and hit track camera. Let's go through and see if those dots show up. Let's hover over it. No, okay. See render track points. Track points. What?
Where do we click on to get the bullets on
It should pop up when you hover over 3 points, or hover in between 3 points there.
It's telling me, use the, leave only in the composition panel.
Yeah, so on that composition panel, you see up top, you see you're in the layer panel. Yep. So let's highlight the effect again. Let's highlight it, select it. The effect. Now let's roll over the points there. See if we can do that. Let's right click. Four, right? That was close. Let's try scrolling to the first frame. Did the bullseye, did it pop up when you were doing it in the other panel? When you got the error message?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's try closing all the panels at the top here, canvas panels, except for the composition. Let's see what happens. track camera. Let's hover again. What does this mean? Alright, so let's create a camera. Alright, and then let's create text. So let's right click in the empty space. There, so. So it's in there. Alright, and just gonna type something in. Dmpt. Just double click on the text. Double click. And then got a cursor there. Alright, we're gonna start it in. Alright, and then do you see the layers? See the cube? Or the slot for the cube? Yeah, it's at the very end there. Yep. Just turn that on for the text. You see? Yeah. Let's go through and see what happens. The timer? Right. Then you can extrude and then light it from there. Alright. Working. Extrude it out. Lighting. Let's go underneath the text layer. Then we'll drop it on. Geometry options. Let's add some extrusion. Extrusion.
We have to change the rendering.
There we go. Yeah, it's similar 4D. Should be the Dropbox and the. Let's get the sit on the clock. Alright, very cool. Let's see. Right. Okay, so for our contact shadow, let's go ahead and get a flat solid here in place. All right, and what we're going to do is, for that, we create a new solid. All right, name mine's contact shadow here. I'll start off with white. And then with that, let's go ahead and let's turn on the 3D option here, which is this cube slot. We'll hit that check mark. And I'll give us something to create a shadow for the text here. Now what we want to do is we want to line up this solid with the concrete ground. Alright, so I'm just going to use two views and go ahead and lay it back flat. It appears to be flat here. And then try to move it into place. And keep in mind with this top view, I'm going to take a look on my elements. So I got my camera here, the light is here, and then shining on my text. Let's look at the red block here. So I want this solid underneath here, so I can emulate the concrete. And then I'm going to bring it up. Oh. That is the orientation here. Let's see. There we go. Rotation. See, 90. Oh. Well, let's see. Take a second to figure out this next step. But let's go ahead and get this ground in place. And then, yeah, the next class, we'll go ahead and finish off contact shadows. And then we'll move into rotoscoping. So rotoscoping is cutting out figures and cutting out figures in footage. It's kind of like a motion mask. And then next class, let's get the ground plane in here. The what? Yeah, in 740 it's not gonna it's not gonna pop up. So yeah, then we need one. So light and ground plane. All right. Any questions? All right, cool. So showing you a couple of visual effects here. All right, and keep in mind, next class we'll have a test on those 4 functions of tracking there. Let's see. That's it. Prepare for a quiz.